All right, so the board says that you need a sheet of paper for notes and a calculator. This is what I'd like you to label your notes, please. 27.1 notes. And the title. The title is Equation of a Circle. Our entire lesson focuses on one equation. It's going to look confusing because there's a lot of letters. But once we do a couple examples, you'll find it's probably not as bad as you think initially. So if you would, copy down legibly this equation. You're going to use it for every problem. And then below it or off to the side, write this. I'm going to write it above, actually. Center is HK. And the radius is R. So let's do an example, and you'll see that this equation is not maybe as scary as it looks. Write down example 1. Let's say that the center is 5, -3, radius 7. So homework question or quiz question might say, here's the center, here's the radius, and it will want you to write the equation. So let's go ahead. Copy down the parentheses, copy the X, copy the minus. What's H? H is the first part of the center. So H in this case is 5. Copy parentheses, just keep copying, copy squared, plus parentheses, y, minus. Till you get to K. I think we know what K is. K is the second part or the y part. So K is -3. Copy parentheses, squared. R is 7. What is 7 squared? 49. Super. Put your head down. We're like 3 for 3 this week. Let's remember tomorrow. That's it. The only thing you have to do is you have to change this minus negative to a plus. And that's your answer. That's your equation of your circle. If you choose up here to turn this into a plus, I'm okay with that. You don't have to do it as 2 steps. I just wanted to show you why it kind of changed signs, because it looks like a -3, but in my answer, it's going to look opposite, +3. The 5 is positive, but it looks negative, but that's because there's negatives in the formula, so that kind of switches the way it looks. Any questions? That's pretty easy, right? You just plug in H, K, and R. You don't have to simplify, square root, anything else. Okay, example 2. Write this down. Center, -3, 11. Radius, 2. Please write the equation. all you have to do is plug in H, K, and R. I'm going to do that. So I'm going to go with X minus my H, Y minus K. My R is 2. 2 squared is 4. My final answer then, all I have to do is simplify this minus negative to plus. And this is the equation of this circle. Any questions on that?
The part that you just did where you made it a negative to a positive, would you be marked wrong if you just did it all together?
Nope, you can do it all together in the first step. That's fine.
Thank you.
Yep. You don't have to write this down, but if it has you graph it or you see a graph, that's really easy. So imagine I have an XY plane. If I plot the center, -3, 11, the radius is 2. So every point from that circle is 2 away. That would be all I have to do to graph it. So if your homework asks you to graph or you see a graph, look for the center of the circle and put a dot there. Our center is -3, 11. We know how to plot points. Radius is 2, so go 2 up, 2 down, 2 left, 2 right, and connect it, and that will make your circle. Example 3. This time, I'm going to give you an equation. Your answer is going to be, what is the center and radius? Here's your equation. This equation, it will be given to you. What I want from you is, I want you to tell me the center and tell me the radius. Did it take some of you longer to write the question than to answer it? Yeah. Connor, what do you think the center is?
-15, 4.
Yes. Always the opposite of what it looks like because there's negatives in the formula. This looks like +15, so do opposite. This looks like -4, so do opposite. Kim, what do you think the radius is?
10.
Very good. R squared is 100. R squared is 100. So if I want R, I square root that. And you don't have to show work for that, but it's going to be 10. Pretty easy, right? Okay. There will be one type of hard question. So on your worksheet tonight, there's a bunch of easy, not easy, but quicker questions. There's going to be one hard question. We're going to spend 10 minutes going over the hard question. And we will do another example like it tomorrow. So if you would write this down, what are we on? Example 5? 4. Example 4. Write down diameter has endpoints. Diameter has endpoints 312 and -17. Our job is to write the equation. We've had practice writing the equation, but not from this information. Here's what I'd like you to do. Off to the side, we're going to draw a sketch, not to scale, just to kind of visualize some things. Go ahead, draw a circle and any diameter you want. know that one of the endpoints is 312. So I'm going to label 1.312 and label your other one. That doesn't have to be to scale. You don't have to get a graph, just a rough sketch. Okay, let's think about what we need to write an equation. We need h and k, or the center that I have to have. I have to have h and k to plug it in. What else do I have to write an equation? R. So I need to find that information. Once I find that, I'm like 10 seconds away from my answer. Let's look at our sketch here. Is this the center of the circle? No. Is this the center of the circle? Are any of these numbers my radius? No. Can I use those points to find the center? Yeah. My picture shows me that the center is the exact middle of those points. If I could find this, the midpoint, that would be the center. So go ahead and write down center, which is your midpoint. That's what we're going to find first. We have learned midpoint this year, but I will remind you the formula. Think average. If I want to average 10 things, I add them up and divide by 10. I want to average 2 points, so I'm going to add them up and divide by 2. Here's your formula for midpoint. Add the x's, divide by 2. Add the y's, divide by 2. Let's do that. We have both x's. So my x's are 3 and -1. Then go up, look at your 2 y's and add those together. Let's think about what we're doing right now. We are finding the middle point, which is the center, and I have to have the center so I can write an equation. Okay. Let's talk about our calculators. Many students make calculator errors here, so I'm going to go over that. Everybody, please, let's just start with y for now. Even if you can do this math in your head, I would like everybody right now to type this in your calculator. Please do it, because people make this mistake all the time. They spend 10 minutes doing this problem, and they type one little thing wrong, and their answer is wrong. So we're typing 12 plus 7 over 2. You are either going to get 15.5 or 9.5. This is wrong. If you got 15.5, you're typing it wrong, and I want to correct it for you. Here's how you got 15.5. You typed in 12 plus 7 over 2, which tells your calculator to divide the 7 by 2. But it mentions nothing about the 12 also being divided by 2. That's why it's wrong. We want the 12 and the 7 to be divided by 2. So you would have to tell your calculator, 12 and 7 together, both of them, divide by 2. If you got it wrong, please type it in again and make sure you get 9.5. Now go ahead and type this first part and write that down. You can do it in your head, that's fine. But in case we get one on a quiz or homework that we can't, now we know how to type it. Nor, is this my answer? Is this the equation of the circle? What is that I just found? The center. So I'm going to label it in my picture, 1 9.5. I'm going to write it here so I can keep my thoughts organized. Any questions so far? Found the center. I'm going to erase some stuff so I have more room. Now I need to find the radius. Does anyone have an idea on how I could find the radius? Does my picture have a radius in it? Sure does. It has 2. This is a radius. You guys know vocabulary. That's a radius. This is also a radius. There's 2 to pick from. Would you guys rather deal with the numbers 3 and 12 or -1 and 7? 3 and 12. So let's say that we want to find this. Call it R. Do I want the middle point of those? I want the distance, right? How far apart they are to find the radius. So we're going to find the distance from 312 and 1 9.5. I'm guessing nobody remembers distance formula because we use the Pythagorean theorem. Let's make this into a right triangle. Right there in your picture is fine. Again, this is review, but you might have not be able to recall it. Let's look at the x's and see how far apart they are. 3 and 1 are how far apart? 2. Don't ever write negatives, just distance. They're 2 apart, so this is a 2. Look at your y's and write down how far apart they are. See, 9.5, 10.5, 11.5. Well, so they're 2.5 apart. You could use the calculator for that if you needed to. I now have 2 sides of a right triangle. So let's set up the Pythagorean theorem. 2 squared plus 2.5 squared equals, sometimes we call it c squared. Let's call it r because that's what it is in this picture. Go ahead with your calculator. 2 squared plus 2.5 squared. I want you to leave your radius as a root. And you'll see why in just a second. Questions on the distance, which is finding the distance or the radius. The radius is root 10.25. Let me go back up here where I'm organizing my information. My radius is root 10.25. What's going to happen when I take my radius and square it? What is this number squared? Come on, guys. Yeah, it goes away. That's why I don't want you to write a decimal. I want you to leave it as a root because eventually I'm taking this radius and I'm going to square it, which is going to give me exactly 10.25. I didn't do any rounding. That's exact. Okay, we are about ready to give our final answer. Plug in your H, your K, and your R to get your equation.